Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. Hope we find everyone well. Being early morning, like Dr. Suckman, so I know it's pretty early for him. Afternoon, evening time for us in the U.S., and of course, very late for the Europeans. So, if you're here, we appreciate you being here and joining us. Um, and so far, Doc said he might try to join us if he can, but for not right now, I got Kay and Susan. How you doing, Kay?
Hey, I'm good. Being crazy busy, but it's nice to have a break tonight.
It is. It's been a while since we've got together and talked. I mean, we message a lot, but back
Yeah.
and forth at different times. But it's good to just talk.
Yeah. Well, I've been tuning into the trial. I'm up to speed on everything with both trials. And um,
Karen
wow.
Reed.
Yeah. Karen Reed. Yeah. Yeah. That's a banger, man.
It's been something. Well, Susan, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I've been fully drenched in Karen Reed for I don't even know how long, a long time. And yeah, what a wonderful verdict. What a great jury. Um, they did exactly what juries are supposed to do.
Yeah, they put through the. I don't want to say bullshit, but I mean, to me, a lot of it was. Everybody has their own opinion, and we've got a lot of that. You can look at YouTube. It's been going around for forever, since the verdict came in, and there are people out there that are just for certain she's guilty and got away with it. For certain.
Not many. I think most of the polls were between 80 and 90% not guilty, taken on, various channels.
Yeah, yeah. But if
Streaming
you
channels.
I can't say so much about Facebook. I'm not really on that, and I'm not really in any
Yeah,
groups that have followed the trial. But on X, oh my God. Oh my God.
where the trolls live.
Y- yes. Saying that, we're in a cult, and she obviously
Same
did
old,
it.
same old. Same old.
Well, yeah, it
Have you ever seen a case with more reasonable doubt? I mean,
no,
no.
or okay, and this is just my opinion. The judge, she was so biased.
Oh my gosh. Even judges say that, other judges.
It's not just your opinion, Jack.
Yeah.
It's a very popular one.
Oh my
It
goodness. I mean, even if you were there for pre-trial, I mean, I watched pre-trial, the first trial, the whole first trial, pre-trial for the second trial. I mean, unbelievable bias.
there
Just
was one there was one witness. I don't remember which one it was. Um, Brennan started objecting to everything that the defense was asking, and
49 times.
49 times she sustained it.
Everyone.
Which witness was that? Do you recall?
Help me out, Kay.
Man, I just heard that in that interview with that other judge, that
It was one of the experts.
lawyer, interview. That thing we were talking about yesterday, Susan, his
With the
interview with
judge.
that judge, family court judge.
Yeah, that was very interesting.
It was one of the male witnesses.
Yeah, it was anybody in chat now.
Was it Rentschler? I think it was. I think it
Yeah, it
was
might
Rentschler.
have been.
I should know.
Let's just make it up. It was Renshaw.
Yeah, it was Renshaw.
Well,
It
Renshaw-
doesn't matter. I mean,
Well, no, it doesn't. But Brennan ended up eating a ham sandwich called the Rensler. It was so ridiculous that
Oh
that,
my
that,
God.
that questioning about the ham sandwich. It was just why.
stupid.
Anyway,
He was desperate.
Nan's Life
Obviously.
got a great comment. Taxpayers should be outraged at the cost of a conviction of an OUI.
No doubt.
Which brings up
No
another
doubt.
point
Millions.
and another real issue. I mean, we can go through any part of this that you all want, but you think about a lot of the video that we saw, and I'm super focused on, to me, looking at the photographs we have of John's autopsy, the injuries. He wasn't hit by a car. There's just absolutely no doubt. I don't know what happened inside that house or garage.
Nobody
Whether
does.
something intentional or accidental, it doesn't matter. He ends up deceased. But here we have the state that, I guess the defense, insisted on having this OUI charge added to the whole deal. But
The defense did, yeah.
yeah, but didn't the state do that originally in the first trial?
Yeah. There was no just single OUI charge the first
No,
trial.
it was added to all the other, right?
Yeah, it was added as a lesser included on
Lesser
the second
included.
charge.
Yeah.
At the defense's request, just in case the jury felt like, they wanted to convict on something.
Right.
For the
here's
family's sake, really. And she did
Here's-
admit driving, after drinking. So, I mean,
Correct.
a lot of these lawyers have said that had that been a standalone charge, she never would have been convicted because of, they didn't get her BAC at the time.
That's right. They didn't.
And it was extrapolated. They don't know when she had her last drink. So anyway, I think she was happy to take it.
Well, here's my problem. We know that Higgins drank all day.
Yeah.
At 1:30 in
They
the,
were all
1:30 in the
drinking
morning.
and driving.
That's right. 1:30 in the
Yeah.
morning, he gets in his state vehicle and drives to the Canton Police Department to do paperwork. In the middle
Well,
of
he was
the night.
in his Jeep, Jack. I don't think that was a state vehicle, but
Oh, he wasn't in his state vehicle.
I
But
think
yeah,
it was,
that was personal.
yeah, his Jeep.
Okay.
The snowplow in it.
Per-
But still,
personal, still, yeah, that's right. He drives to the Canton Police Department. I don't know how long he's there. He wasn't there long. Certainly not long enough to do any amount of paperwork.
20
remember
minutes
seeing
or
the-
something.
I remember seeing him going into the communications center for a period of time. I think the video said it was like 8 or 9 minutes.
I'm not sure
I-
what that door is that he went into. I haven't heard that from anybody.
Yeah, there was one. I think I saw it on Microdots.
Oh,
I think that's where I saw it. He goes in there for like 8 or 9 minutes, maybe 10. I can't remember exactly.
yeah.
And then
something like that.
he leaves there. I mean, I certainly don't think we have all the footage from the Canton Police Department. I think a good chunk of that's been withheld. But he goes back outside. He moves a vehicle.
While on his
He's
phone.
while on his phone, and then he gets a pretty large duffel bag out of it of some kind.
Out of a vehicle that's parked out there. Don't know what
Yes.
that vehicle was. His personal truck was parked right next to his Jeep, which he got in as well. Turned the lights on for a while.
Yeah.
Was it a dead dog?
Nothing would surprise. Nothing would surprise me.
I never really thought of that before.
Yeah, people have
Nothing.
speculated on that. We just can't know what the heck it was. Others have speculated that it was like an emergency kit that had a portable what do you call it? You carry a body on, like a
Gurney?
Yeah.
Not guarantee,
Like,
yeah, I know what you mean.
but we don't know. I don't know anyway.
But here's the thing: he's clearly out driving while intoxicated, and no one bats an eye. This is a federal ATF agent. No one bats an eye.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, they all do it. What about Proctor and Chris Albert, or was the cop Albert?
Mechanic?
Yeah.
Mechanic?
No, one of the Alberts, the one that's the Kenton cop.
The incident with the drunken night and the lost gun or badge or whatever.
Lost gun and badge.
Your gun is in my. I put your. What was it?
Put your badge in your locker or something like that. Hey,
Wait, what?
Badge in the mailbox.
Somebody said Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah, that's it.
Albert. Thank you. Behind the magic.
Behind the magic.
Yeah.
So what's this? I haven't heard this.
Oh, a training. They had gone.
They were investigating a cold case, like on the Cape or something.
Which
the two went out together and they stopped to have cocktails and just got smashed. And Kevin texted Proctor the next morning and said, "Dude, I just woke up. Where's my gun? Can't find my badge." He had left it, I guess, in Proctor's car.
Wow.
Which was, they were in an official vehicle as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Did anything happen to them for that? Did they lose a couple vacation days? I don't remember.
I mean, I don't think anything happened. Yeah, Kevin lost some vacation days, I think was his punishment.
Oh, wow. What's Nan's last say here? Let me get this on the screen.
Today, I went back and listened to Higgins' previous testimony. He said he left Albert's between 12:30 and 1. That's a lie. But he's not seen on Canton video until 1:30. Albert's are less than 5-minute drive to Canton.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And he lied what time he left there.
So that means he left at 1:20 or something. 1:25.
Wow. I did not know that.
Which is not too long before everybody else left at 1:45. And did he go back? We don't know. He said he went home. Had a couple more drinks.
Like in the middle of the night, do these people sleep,
Was it Jameson and Ginger, his drink?
Oh my God.
Well,
He's a whiskey drinker.
they're too busy butt dialing.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and then the infamous butt dial.
Well, there's just so many things that can drive one completely mad. A lot of people, a lot of the naysayers, they don't want to accept or they want to ignore completely looking at John. And, or they...
What do you
Okay,
mean,
let's just say,
John?
let's just say John was standing there at the curb. Karen throws her Lexus in reverse and speeds backwards and manages to get up to, basically 25 miles an hour. He's just going to stand there and get hit.
It's just ridiculous. And not get any bruises or broken bones or anything.
No, yeah, the bruises for sure, but no broken bones, getting hit by a 6,000-pound car. I don't think so.
No.
Well, the only
Yeah.
people that believe that can happen went to the what's the first trooper Paul?
Uh,
They went to
Paul
the
and Proctor.
no, the first reconstruction person for the state. What
Trooper
was his
Paul.
name?
Yep. You
Trooper
got it.
Paul. Yeah, the ridiculous guy that doesn't know physics.
Yes. Oh my
They
God.
went to his physics school.
The
It
most
just
embarrassing
doesn't happen,
testimony I have ever seen. Stan. God.
It just
and
did.
you know, Brennan couldn't get one
Just
medical
did.
examiner to say that, you know, that O'Keefe was hit by a car. Not one.
Exactly. Is that reasonable doubt? I
He had
mean,
pirouette.
let me count the ways. For
I
God's
love the
sake.
pirouette explanation.
Yeah.
Like he
Alan
knows what a
Jackson. I like
pirouette
Alan
is.
Jackson's.
He knows what a pirouette is, but he doesn't know any physics, so he might be
Yeah,
in the
that was.
wrong career.
I have to say, the first trial was a lot more entertaining than the second, with all those witnesses lying on the stand.
Oh my God, I wanted them to bring him back. I guess
I
that's
wanted
pretty mean, huh?
I wanted Proctor brought back.
I did too, but I think they were smart the way they played it this time because
Yeah.
I do too.
Oh yeah.
He would have cried. He cried in his interview on 2020 or whatever that was.
oh my God.
And he,
Trooper Paul
he
would have cried
said
too.
after the verdict, he said, no, I wouldn't have changed a thing with my investigation. I mean, and he's been fired and disgraced. Oh, some people.
See,
Yeah.
Trooper Paul can't even move to a different state and get away from this because, I mean, he probably can't even move to a different country and get away from it.
Oh, neither
The
can
states
Proctor.
are so big.
Neither can Proctor.
No,
I can't even imagine.
Joe Paul. But evidently he's still a trooper. I doubt if he's in Reconstruction anymore.
Oh, I'd imagine not. Well, then, you know, we have a former police officer, Kelly Devers. Now's a
oh
Boston
Lord.
Cup.
Wow.
Talk about self-annihilating your own career.
Her career depends on it. Yeah.
What do I say on the stand?
Yeah,
Right,
man. And
I mean, it's like she's saying my life depends on it.
She
It
was
might.
like a young teenage brat on that stand. So immature. But
You don't
just-
even know my name. You can't even pronounce my name.
It's Devers.
She was smart ass to me. She came off very arrogant and a
God.
smart ass. That's what I took from it. And
Well, that's what the jurors took from it as well. The
Yeah,
ones
I'm
we've
sure.
heard from. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, be interesting to know what is happening with her career right now.
oh, she has to be riding a desk or some administrative
Well, she
assistant.
can never get on the stand and
She
testify
can
again.
never know that she'll get destroyed. She has to know that. I would hope she would know that. I hope somebody would have told her. You go up here and you know, completely do a 180 on your memory. You're done.
Crazy.
It is crazy. I watched. I didn't watch every bit. It wasn't a very long video before I got on tonight, and it was. I don't know this person. I mean, I have a lot of Karen Reed stuff pop up. I don't follow this person either. I'm not subscribed to their channel, I think her name was Missy. Anyway, it was a very
Oh, I saw that with the tail light.
yes.
Yeah, I hadn't seen her before either. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an interesting, very interesting catch that she showed about the difference in color, because she's showing
And the fence.
and the fence
Yeah.
showing Karen backing out of John's driveway there at 4:45 or whatever in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and you can see the entire back of John's car is lit up red. It's red. There's no doubt about it. That it's not white. But then when she pulls forward, boom! Suddenly, there's a couple of frames there. It's white. It's a very interesting video. Another interesting one too, and I think I posted it in. I'm almost positive I posted it in the Karen Reed room on Discord, and it was Larry the DUI guy did a YouTube short depicting. God, I can never think of her first name. The Albert daughter.
Caitlin?
Yeah, shows her on the stand in the first trial on the stand, saying that the brother was his name Colin.
Yes.
Or Colin is her cousin, right?
That's okay.
Well,
Colin is Chris Albert's son. And
I think Caitlin is Brian's, isn't she?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Well, she said that because she had taken somebody home, that he wasn't there when John was there.
Right. John was there.
Oh man.
Well, and we also know
kids involved.
When Higgins' feet were to the fire, answering the when the FBI questioned him, or grand jury, it was the federal grand jury, that he said that, a tall guy about 6'2" with dark hair came in the house, but he didn't know who it was.
Yeah, right. There was no
He's
one
the
else
only one that said that somebody came in, that basically John came in the house.
Well,
But-
other than Caitlin.
Well, yeah, but that was in a, not a direct way.
No, not direct, but certainly indirect. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But it's just interesting that, he only said that at the federal investigation. He knew he couldn't lie. That it was a federal offense to lie there. The other ones didn't mind. But he knew he couldn't. We actually,
she got caught lying to the FBI.
She sure did. Called him back and said, "Oh, oops, I forgot."
Yeah.
But what's interesting is Higgins has completely disappeared.
Yep.
Haven't heard anything from him since the first trial.
You know what I think happened?
What?
I think he bought a one-way ticket to Vietnam.
He's over there with what's her name? What's her husband's name?
Is he over there?
I don't know. But he wasn't arrested.
He was probably told to keep his damn mouth shut.
Well, another thing that I heard was that Jennifer McCabe absolutely hates Brian Higgins. To me, in my brain, I'm thinking, well, Higgins is the guilty one, and they all covered for him. and he's disappeared. And he's ruined her life. She ruined her own life by not calling 911.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's protecting her sister and brother-in-law initially. That was probably the initial thought.
Behind the Magic's got a good comment here. Plus, there's a picture circulating of the inside of the garage. Has paint poured down the steps. In my opinion, to cover something else, perhaps a blood stain. Well, it's on the wall there, I think.
Yeah, it's actually the wall, not the steps, but there's like a
Yeah.
cement little ridge along there, ledge. But yeah, hard to say, you know. I mean, I would think that Brian Albert would have doused that if there had been blood there, he would have doused it with the correct kind of bleach.
Peroxide.
Yeah, scrubbed it and then spilled paint there. So, but there is a crack in the cement very near there, which would be interesting to jackhammer up, as we know they do.
Sure would.
But I'm guessing, yeah. I mean, Albert would know how to get rid of evidence. But it would be cool if they would reopen and just scour that place. Imbeck it.
Yep. Yeah, I saw Doc in the chat. Welcome,
Yeah.
Doc. You're certainly welcome to join
Yeah,
us.
he says Higgins has done a Chloe.
Yeah,
He's been rehomed.
that's funny.
Well, I'm sorry, and I hate to say it, hate to even think it, but I don't think Chloe survived. I could be wrong now, but
I serious doubts. When the state says that they went and found her and they did these impressions of her mouth, yada yada yada, but they would not give up where they found her, who has her, no information, no specifics.
well, then that's worthless.
She wasn't there that morning when all of the emergency personnel arrived.
No.
Because the dog was supposedly sleeping in the bedroom with Brian and his wife.
Nicole, Coco.
And so Jen McCabe blasts into the bedroom, and she didn't know anything about the dog. She doesn't remember hearing the dog or seeing the dog or anything, but the dog would be barking at all the crap that was going on out on the lawn. Anyway.
Karen was screaming. Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
for
that's
sure.
ridiculous. So the dog was gone already by morning.
For sure. The dog left that night.
That's what I say.
Maybe in a bag. Maybe in a big bag.
Hate to even think it.
That's terrible.
I mean,
well,
the two officers came. Go ahead.
Who was it during the first trial that had the weird story? It was either Caitlin or what's her name? Had the weird story about finding a dog in the snowstorm and taking it to the police department. I've been meaning to go back and listen to that testimony. It was just a weird story she told.
I don't remember that.
On the stand.
I don't either. And I should.
Yeah, it was very strange. But no, one of them took him out of there. And, I don't think they killed him that night. It was Caitlin with the story. Behind the Magic says. Yeah, I think she took him out of there. I don't think they killed him that night. Or you know, who knows? But yeah, I saw that, Nan. There's a recent video shows Jackson outside the Oval House making noise while someone videos from the bedroom, from Brian and Coco's bedroom. You can hear him talking out there. I mean, it's not very far. It's just right down below his window. Reasonable doubt. Doesn't come out of the house. Doesn't wake up. No dog barking. I mean, there's just so much reasonable doubt. People are just in denial. Either that, I'm talking about the trolls, or let me just call them the ones that believe she's guilty, that they just ignore so many, reasons for doubt in this case, and stick on one thing. They'll get stuck on the data or stuck on, one thing and ignore everything else and swear she's guilty. I mean, it just makes no sense. I think a lot of people just like to debate and argue whether they believe their side or not.
Well, I try to look at it as the reasonable person out there in the world. I don't know any of these people at all. And I have no dog in the race. If I thought she was guilty of doing it, I would say so.
Absolutely.
It's like if I look at the Kohlberger case right now, from what we know, I say he's guilty, but I'm trying my best to back up and say, okay, what else could have happened? We've been fed a lot of information, but what else could have happened? We need to see it. We need to understand it to make a final decision.
I'm waiting for the evidence, for the trial to make up my mind. Yeah, a lot of it looks, what they've put out. You never can trust the state with everything.
No, you can't. That's why I say the knife sheath, that's really weird. But anyway, I wanted to ask, we could talk just for a moment, because I think Nan's life is from the UK. And someone explained what is the point of a grand jury, and do all cases or only certain cases go to the grand jury? It's a jurisdictional thing. Not every state uses a grand jury. They don't.
That's right.
We do in Oklahoma.
I don't think they do here in Michigan. I know
we mostly use the grand jury to hide things from the public that we don't want them to know, and so we can manipulate the outcome of things, because any testimony or evidence that is presented inside the grand jury is sealed.
Yes.
So what you get is a recommendation to proceed with charges or not.
Correct.
And you don't really know anything else that happened until trial rolls around. I mean, that's what they use to get Judge Henderson out of, from being roasted in Daniel Holtz's case.
And it's only the prosecutors that present evidence. There is no judge. There is no defense. It's just the prosecutor that presents evidence, and then these people decide whether or not to bring charges.
Yeah. And it's I'm sorry about that, Nan's life. You said you're from Canada. I'll remember that. But even I'm sure the way the justice system works for you guys is different in that aspect for the grand jury. I know they use it in New York. A lot of states use the grand jury. A lot of states don't. And
otherwise, they have a what's it called? not a preliminary hearing.
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
a
Yeah, it's
preliminary
preliminary.
hearing, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. To decide
But
whether
it,
to
but, but it's open, and the judge will
And
make a decision.
that's decided by a judge, yeah.
Correct.
Mhm.
And that's open to the public. And only under the rarest of circumstances, like Susan and Kay said, grand jury testimony is sealed from the public. Only under certain conditions will any of it be revealed, and that's generally maybe somebody's testimony or what they said in the grand jury. If they come to trial and say something different, if they call witnesses and so forth. So it does happen, but it's pretty rare. Which
And in Oklahoma County, before Judge Henderson was the subject of a grand jury investigation, he was the judge that oversaw the grand jury system in Oklahoma County.
oh wow,
So, yeah, he was in charge of all that. So, nothing
Lord,
shady there.
no, come on now, don't be like that.
Yeah, all of his text message or 3 email accounts and phone records are what they were trying to keep hidden from the public. Mostly from Holtzclaw's defense team and a few other cases who were convicted in his court during the time that he was sleeping with people from the prosecutor's office who were trying cases in his courtroom.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to cover that up.
Oh yeah, you don't want that out there. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that system.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see it for things like sensitive things, like things involving children or.
Absolutely.
I mean, I can't really think of other things right now, but I'm sure there are other things where I think it would really be appropriate, but that's not, they use it as a shield.
Well, going back to the beginning of this case, there were actually several key points that weren't done immediately. Number one, obviously, yeah, okay. Lincoln, I can't think of that other officer's name. They did go inside the FOIA about 6:30, I think, or so, 6:35, and talk to John and I think Nicole and Jen
You mean
McCabe.
Brian?
Yeah, Brian. Yeah, Brian Albert,
Yeah.
Brian, Nicole, and Jen McCabe, right there in the FOIA.
And I think Jen's husband was there too.
Was he?
I believe so. They came over. Or he
Didn't know
came.
that.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but yeah, they sat
they-
down at the table and I think Jen laid out what went down, and they just took it as fact.
But no one did anything inside that house. It wasn't forensically checked, and it should have been. I dare say, unless you have the car and there's no connection between who's there laying in your front yard and the people inside the house, that they're not going to check your house when there's a definite dotted line connection to 6 or 7 hours prior.
Every cop that I have heard speak up on this case from, different places has said, that's crazy. That's the first thing they would have done.
Of course.
Was go in that house.
They didn't.
First of all, make sure nobody else is injured.
Yep.
They're not answering the phone. No lights are on.
They didn't put up crime scene tape. They didn't canvass this ring camera that was across the road at this other cop's house from Canton.
Didn't bother
Some-
to look.
No, didn't look at anything. No footage.
It was familiar that it, you know, it wouldn't have picked it up. It was pointed at the sidewalk or whatever. And you know, no other Ring camera down the street. No neighborhood canvas. Go talk to people.
That's right. No
See if
canvas at all.
they heard anything, saw anything, you know.
Right. Nothing. You know, another thing, and I can't find where I saw this at, and it wasn't at John's house. It was some surveillance camera on one of the roads or highways that Karen would have traveled. There's like 2 minutes of it that's missing. That would have
The
showed
library
that
footage.
Is that
Yeah.
what it is? That would have showed the
Mhm.
back of her SUV. It's
Mhm.
missing. The Sally
Right,
Port
we would have-
video.
Also
Solid
established a time.
Yes. The Sally Port video. There's 40 minutes missing.
At least 40. Yeah. It was closer to 50.
Well,
At the time when the car was brought in to the
Yes.
salad port. That is
Yes.
missing on that second camera. Yeah.
and when you have, I mean, we saw this missing kind of thing throughout the Avery Dassey thing. And here again, we've got the same thing. Critical times, evidence is missing. I just glitched out for 50 minutes. Really?
You know, one or two things, maybe, but, you know, 40 different reasons for reasonable doubt.
Well,
How can a
Right.
jury convict anybody with so much reasonable doubt?
that's right. That's exactly right. And the defense was really sharp on pointing that out. The injuries to John, again, I mentioned it earlier. I mean, you know, I talked about this with somebody a week or two ago. Maybe it was on a video. I think I left a comment. Back many years ago, my brother was a hellion. God bless him. He was a hellion. And him and his pals were constantly running from the law or getting arrested or whatever. Anyway, him and a buddy were on the outskirts of our county at one of the lakes, and they'd been up there drinking and God knows what. Anyway, they had left, and it was way up in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning, whatever. And I guess the cops had been watching that area, and they got after him. So now my brother's buddy was driving, and so he decided to run. Well, I mean, where I grew up is in East Tennessee, and the roads are not straight. They're just not. It's twisting. Virtually every road, not all of them are you know, the Dragon, but most of them are twisty and curvy, and especially when you get out in the county. Anyway, there's a hairpin turn. And I mean, it literally is a hairpin there. And the speed limit on that highway is like 45 or 50. And for the most part, you could do that. Now, when you come to curves, you know, the speed limit would go down, back up, back down. Anyway, they got to this hairpin curve and they didn't make the curve. He went straight for whatever reason. The car went airborne because it kind of went off. Now, it wasn't like the side of a mountain, but it did go down. And the car turned sideways in midair. The windshield struck a tree. And my brother and his buddy ate that windshield.
Right.
And it damn near tore the back of the car off because the angle that it hit. I don't know how neither one of them died, but it crushed my brother's hands. He had glass and windshield all in him, in his face, his shoulders, his arms, his hands. He drug his buddy out because one of his legs was broken 3 places. His arm was broke. His the roof of his mouth, I don't know what you call that, was cracked. He was really
Oh
in
my
bad shape.
God.
Yeah, he drug him, I don't know, 100 yards or so up to the highway, and my brother made it to somebody's house that answered the
Wow.
door and called an ambulance.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in bad shape. My point to the story is, I remember it well. I may even have photos somewhere that showed these cuts to him from all this glass on the windshield. They were nothing like what was, and I don't. They weren't doing like 100, but they were certainly probably traveling. I'm guessing 40. I think they said 45, maybe. I don't remember. Somewhere around that neighborhood.
Well, you saw the ARCA reconstruction at 25 miles an hour.
Yeah,
The back windshield broke out.
yeah,
The body slid straight back behind the car
yeah.
for a long ways. Yeah, all that glass. If she hit him at that, and even if she clipped him on the arm, it was proven by ARCA that taillight could not have made those marks on John's arm. Through
Correct.
those 9 little, consistent holes on his sweatshirt, how does glass
hoodie.
go in there, scratch him, and not stay inside the hoodie?
That's right. That was another point I was going to bring
There were
up.
some tiny microscopic pieces that they found, almost microscopic, that, Brennan was trying to say those made the scratches. It's like, what?
My brother literally picked glass out of his arms and chest and neck for years. They would
God.
rise to the surface and come out.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, that's right. His arm, to me, showed a dog attack. There's the parallel lines, the scratches, the bites, and the bite and pull. It didn't have to
And
be
the
a puncture
physics,
wound.
the physics
Yeah.
of the tail light, how it moves.
Yes.
If that arm broke the tail light, the way that the glass or the plastic moves, like at the same speed, it's just impossible for that to have happened. And
Well,
yes, I
somebody
do
said,
believe because of that reconstruction that she is factually innocent, that John was not hit by her car.
well, what about the really tiny pieces of tail light in John's coat? But who had that coat? Who
Yeah.
collected it at the
Where's
hospital?
the chain of custody on it? There
That's
is
right.
none
There is none.
for
But
a
it was
very long time.
it was Proctor that got the coat.
That's right.
And then we talk about the glass that was found on the back of her SUV that took 2 highway rides. This
no
amazing
explanation for.
no, none.
The fact that the diffusers were broken out, which was impossible for, a side swipe arm event to break those diffusers. They proved that in their reconstructions. It's just so much. I just don't understand how anybody can still believe the woman is guilty.
Bob Brown.
You just have to discount so much. You have to discount so much.
Yeah, I do. I have to. But Bob Brown, I don't think I've seen you on our channel before. Welcome. Kerry Roberts lied to the grand jury, and the result was to bring this sorry case forward. Isn't it a felony to lie to the grand jury?
Yeah, on the stand. I don't know if it's a felony. It's perjury.
Well,
Which is
certainly
a
perjury.
felony.
Which is a felony. Okay, yeah. Which, as I understand, is rarely adjudicated.
That's right.
Which, why not? If it's a felony,
Whatever. They don't want to be enforcing that one too much because cops do it all the time.
That's right. But it does discredit them as a witness when it's proven on the stand.
Well,
I
then we
don't
get
know. How
into
much does that matter, really?
Well-
more of the evidence using solo cups from. Well, we didn't bring any evidence cups, so we're going to use somebody's solo cups that are not part of their evidence kit, and they're unsealed. And then they use a bag from someone, again, because they didn't bring any and didn't get the crime scene people there to collect it and store it properly. And
That's another big thing. Why wasn't CSI called? They
That's right.
called the search crew. They weren't searching for someone. You know, that is so sus.
And
I
Lieutenant
mean-
Leafblower,
You got a dead Boston police officer, and you don't bring out CSI
that's right.
for to go over the crime scene. You don't leave a guy sitting there in his car to secure that crime scene. I don't care if it was a blizzard. He could have sat in his warm car there for however long it took
That's
to
right.
get somebody there. You just abandon the scene and then expect, none of that taillight should have been evidence in court.
No,
It wasn't. None of it was properly collected.
collected.
It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't,
And they
GPSed or measured from the flagpole or, the fire hydrant to let you know exactly where it was. We
That's
don't
right.
know where any of that taillight was except, 3 pieces on the curb or 5 pieces that they showed right there by the curb. It's just a clusterfuck.
and they just left it. They left the whole yard and property unsecured.
Yep. And came back. But how long was the last piece found? Like 18 days later or
It was
something?
almost 3 weeks.
As the snow melted, they would just drive by and, oh, there's another piece. Let me grab that.
Well, I think they were.
Photo.
I think weren't they even told? When you get a minute, drop by and look around the yard. I think they were. I
Yes,
think I heard that.
that's what they said.
Yeah, that's how you do a search. You just keep going back. Where have I heard that before? Oh yeah.
And none of the Alberts ever saw any. And, Colin said, hey, I see some taillight out in the yard. You might want to come and get it.
God.
Reasonable doubt up and down the line.
Reasonable. Beyond reasonable.
No
Yeah.
doubt. Absolutely no doubt.
Absolute doubt. Yeah.
Well, then, we can talk for a minute or two about the jurors that have stepped forward. Now, I personally haven't listened to too many. I have listened to Paula Prado. I hope I'm saying her last name correctly.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she seemed very reasonable, very intelligent. She's not taking any shit from anybody, and I don't blame her one bit.
And when in the beginning, she thought, Karen could possibly be guilty.
Yep. But she wanted proof of that, and they didn't
Of
present.
course, she's a lawyer.
Yep.
In Brazil.
In
not
Brazil.
the States, but
Yeah, it's different, but
I just feel, I think there's been 4 jurors, maybe 5, that have come out, and all very, the way they described what they did, how they went through everything. They allowed everyone to speak their mind, ask questions or whatever. It sounded like exactly the way that a jury should look at a case and
yes,
come to a verdict.
I agree.
And they all feel good about the verdict. I think they all feel horrible for the O'Keefes. They believe that the investigation should be reopened because you know, I've heard several actually say they believe she's innocent and not just, you know, not proven. So,
Look at there.
oh, Sunshine Christina. Hey, girl.
What's up, Sunshine?
Better late than never.
Oh,
There you go.
Yep. I was trying. Do I have a lot of background noise?
no.
No.
Okay. I tried to log on my phone during my commute. It wouldn't happen. So I just got home. What are we discussing today?
Karen Reed, the post trial, and just a lot of the aspects of the case that
Okay.
That really led I think all of us to reasonable doubt.
Oh,
Physics,
sure.
evidence, chain of custody. And I really haven't we've talked to him about him in the past, but the actions of State Trooper Proctor really, to me, he led that investigation and he destroyed it. He destroyed the case. I guess thinking
In
that
my opinion, yeah.
Karen would just take a plea and say, okay, well, I did it. And, just give me a plea deal. And she's like,
I think y'all are being really kind because I see it for like an intentional, we screwed up. One of ours screwed up. We're going to blame it on her.
well, yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that it was up from the top down personally. The way that Dever or however the young lady who
Did a 180.
Who is very hostile. From
Kelly, don't call me Dever Dever.
Yeah, her. Just her attitude. And then you look at how anyone who tried to bring light to the case in the beginning, how they were all like really treated like we're above the law. And thankfully, her case coincided where there was a national movement of, we're going to stop weaponizing the justice system. Because I don't know, have y'all been following like a lot of the Supreme Court rulings lately?
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I think like this case is really going to be helpful for. I don't know. I think there's, I think Stephen and Brendan may be freed soon. I don't have any evidence to support that, except for my gut says that there is a light being shown on a lot of political corruption. The stuff in Minnesota is quite interesting. Minnesota, Massachusetts, Wisconsin. And I'm curious, very curious to watch this unfold.
Look at there.
Who'd we get?
We almost Beetlejuiced you in here, Doc. How you doing?
Yeah, you did. You did. Yeah, good. I could only stay for a little while. I've been listening. It's fascinating, guys. Fantastic podcast so far, guys. Loving it.
Well, give us your thoughts, Doc. You're here.
Where do you want me to start?
Hey, it's the dealer's choice tonight. You talk about whatever you want, wherever you want to start at.
Yeah, I could just talk a couple of minutes, just to let everybody know that, and echoing what Susan said, there's been a lot of fantastic discussion on our Discord channel, hasn't there, Susan? A lot of active discussion in our Discord channel. A huge amount, actually. And as everybody knows, the Stephen Avery, Brennan Dassey cases at the moment are very, very quiet. And we're really just all waiting for something to happen. But we just to let all our supporters know, none of us have forgotten Stephen. None of us have forgotten Brendan.
No.
There's still a lot of active discussion going on, and we're just waiting for something that we can report on. But getting back to the Karen Read trial, oh my God, as Jack61 pointed out, I'm no longer on X, but I could imagine the vitriol on X, Jack61. It
It's
would
awful.
be shocking, absolutely shocking.
Yeah,
People-
I mean, we're all in a cult, Doc.
Yeah. People would, the amount of vitriol that Jack61 and I faced when we were talking about Stephen and Brendan was just off the charts on X. We were attacked nonstop. I could imagine now any supporters of Karen Read who believe in her innocence would also be attacked. I have never seen a case like this. The degree of saturation and coverage, right, guys, on all over social media, every second YouTube that I see is about Karen Read. And there's been a lot of high-profile people, attorneys, judges, law enforcement officers, forensic scientists who have discussed this case ad nauseum. And a lot of them agree that this is probably one of the most egregious cases they've ever seen. And I must admit, I do agree. I thought the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey cases were bad, but I think Karen Read's case takes the cake. The other case, which is just as bad, is the Delphi murder case.
Yes.
Shocking, absolutely shocking. So I'm not an expert in the Karen Read trial, as in I don't know all the main players and I haven't listened to all the testimony. But from what I've seen, I've actually seen some of the trial live, believe it or not, in the early hours of the morning because I was so intrigued because it has so many parallels to the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey cases. And the criminal justice system in America is broken, badly broken. Why? Because if you don't have a multi-million-dollar blue chip team to look after your interest, Karen Read today would be in prison. I'm absolutely convinced of that hadn't she had a blue chip team that were brilliant, those attorneys were just 10 out of 10. I believe that Karen would be sitting in prison, guys. I don't know what you think. I think she would have been in big trouble.
Absolutely agree with that. They were tenacious. They, Alessi, I think it was Alessi, he got really cranked up at different times during the trial. And I don't blame him, And, it was amazing to me to find out that I had no idea. I think it's Alessi that's 67 years old.
Yeah, he's a
Yes.
boxer as well.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Super
Yanetti's 61 or 2.
3,
Something like that. Yeah.
63, something like that. Yeah.
I had no idea they were, because they sure don't act like it. Didn't look like it either.
Did
Yeah,
you
I
hear
mean-
his workout routine, Alessi's?
Yeah. 3
Every
hours.
other day, 3.5 hours.
Whew.
And then he
Incredible.
has all this like regimented schedule of eating where he eats like every few hours, these specific things. So
That's interesting.
pretty interesting. I guess that's the secret.
I guess.
Well,
I don't know.
Correct.
And he sleeps, what do you say? He sleeps 2 to
Only
3
couple of
hours a day.
Only a couple of hours, yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, it goes to show that your attorneys have to know the case inside out. They need to
Yes.
know all the minutiae. They need to know who to attack in terms of their credibility, their credentials. And what they did was they were masterful. Why? Because they focused on the forensic evidence. This is a really weird case, guys. Why? Because there were no eyewitnesses. there were no ear witnesses, and there was no video. So
Correct.
hence, the state, the Commonwealth, were reliant on reconstructions. They had to reconstruct the collision, the so-called collision, because their viewpoint was, hey, Karen reversed her Lexus, hit John O'Keefe, and somehow John O'Keefe landed near the flagpole, cracking her tail light. So hence, they had to hire experts in accident reconstruction in order to reproduce that event. And in my opinion, they failed dismally to try and recreate that collision. It was terrible.
Well, then, in the first place, like I said earlier, that John, a Boston cop, veteran, he's going to stand there and let someone, I don't care who they are, drive into him doing 25 miles an hour in reverse. He's just going to stand there? I don't think so.
Correct.
Correct. What was the officer's name that, because Susan will probably know this. Who was the officer that came in at like 3:30 a.m. to move cars around during the blizzard?
That was Higgins.
Okay. So we have video of all that they tried to explain it away, right?
It was 1:30, not 3:30.
Okay. But after drinking, he decided to come move vehicles around, right?
Well, he went
That's
inside
what he said.
the,
He moved
he-
one
he-
car. He said he
Yeah.
moved vehicles.
And then brought a bag of
got
something.
a bag out of he got a large duffel bag out of one of the
Mhm.
truck or something, whatever the hell it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So that is a very bizarre narrative to commit yourself to.
Well, why would he go down there? He's been
Well, we
drinking all
know
day.
why
He's gonna
he
go
went
down there. He's gonna go down there and do paperwork at 2:00 in the morning. Come on.
Yeah. I mean,
Music Tourette's 22 believes that Karen is guilty of hitting John O'Keefe, and there was a tainted jury.
I haven't picked any of that up, but
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
Music.
the thing is this, right? You have to the Commonwealth have to prove that a collision took place. So hence, what you've got, like I said, you've got no witnesses and you've got no video footage, which means that you're reliant on a reconstruction. You have to
Correct.
prove that a collision took place. So hence, in essence, you have to prove that Karen, going 24 miles an hour in her Lexus, hit John O'Keefe in such a manner that he ended up near the flagpole. Now, what have you got? Remember what we always do on Foul Play? We always deep dive and we look at the forensic evidence. You can't dispute the science. The science is what it is. So the Commonwealth are trying to go, okay, how can we actually prove this collision? And that guy that got paid $500,000 for blue paint going on the arm, right?
Oh my God.
So in essence, they paid him $500,000 for a painting exercise. That didn't prove anything at all because you can't beat the physics. And as Susan said, when they did a reconstruction with the tail light hitting the duplicate arm, you saw the tail light pieces fly down the street, right? The tail light pieces all flew down the street.
Of course.
Which means, how do those tail light pieces end up near the flagpole where John O'Keefe is? It's impossible. How does John O'Keefe end up near the flagpole where allegedly he was hit? You can't. It
Right.
doesn't make any sense at all.
Physics
None.
proves it didn't happen.
The physics prove. Now, it's not only that. To make matters worse, you've got the physical evidence on John O'Keefe's body himself. And as Susan said, as everybody says, you've got those marks down his arm. When I saw it for the very first time, and remember, I'm in Adelaide, South Australia, nowhere near this case. The first words that came out of my mouth was, "Oh shit, they're dog marks. They're dog marks."
That's exactly what I said. I said that's a dog
First thing
attack.
I said. And I've been bitten by a dog. I've been scratched by my own dog. It
Yep.
was exactly like that, right? And so you got to yourself, wait a minute. He got hit by a 6,000-pound Lexus going in reverse. One would expect bruising, broken bones.
Oh,
And
no doubt.
notice what Brennan did. He didn't bring up the X-rays. You know why? Because they're
broken bones.
damning. They're damning. There are no broken bones. So you're thinking, wait a minute. You expect the jury to believe that a impact occurred at 24 miles an hour such that it cracks the tail light, spins John onto the ground near the flagpole with no bruising and no broken bones.
Correct.
I call bullshit to that. Sorry.
And he hits his head on the frozen grass and
Yeah,
causes that injury. Not
brain
possible.
injury. A brain injury, correct. And the
Yeah,
medical
they-
examiner said Jack, the medical examiner said he would have been incapacitated immediately.
Oh yeah. Probably completely, or 90% knocked out. I would think, maybe worse, maybe completely, unconscious. But that's some of the really high points that we've been talking about. But circling back again, chain of custody. What happened on scene when John was found, and what didn't happen in a standard investigation? And I've said this, a few people have tried to argue with me that I dare say again, because some people say, well, they didn't have a right to search, but I dare say again, if a cop, and I live in Michigan, is found dead in my front yard, they're coming in. They're coming in my house. Would they come in to talk, look around? Probably. If I had a connection from 6 or 7 hours prior, out drinking, partying, after party, comes back to my house, now you got a dotted line connection. They're not going to bring in the forensic people to check it out, to either find something or clear the house, clear the property. One of the two. And I'll say this last thing and y'all can talk. And then we have Proctor. They arrest Karen, get her phone, et cetera, et cetera. And I can't remember, it wasn't about her phone, but at least not this part. He's talking to one of his longtime friends, or maybe another police officer, and he says this. He's telling him about the case, and his friend says, "Well, I guess that cop's got in hot water or something." And Proctor said, "No, he's not." And nothing had been done at that point. Nothing.
Well, yeah, that's the fundamental issue. And it all boils down to this. Ask yourself the question, was this a proper investigation from the start? Yes or no?
No, it was not.
Was there anyone in that household, including police officers, that did a CYA? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
They all did. Every one of them did.
I
Why?
question the actions, especially of Higgins, Brian Albert too. But Higgins, I don't know how he found out, but apparently he did. I think he did. I can't prove it. He knew that his phone was going to be seized. So what does he do? He drives to a military base takes the SIM card out, ditches it in one trash can, takes his phone and ditches it in a separate trash can. He gets rid of it. Hey, baby.
Well, the thing is this. When you're looking at this as an impartial observer, you have to ask yourself, was there any actions done by law enforcement, the occupants of the house, that infer guilt? Did any of the occupants of the house or law enforcement officers act in a manner that one would regard as self-serving and self-preservation? In other words,
suspicious. At
Yes.
least suspicious.
at least suspicious activity. When you start getting rid of A, the dog, B, unreasonable explanations for butt dialing, and it occurred by several of them,
Yes.
B and C, the destruction of mobile phones. What does that indicate to you?
Something weird's going on. Why does this happen?
Something weird?
Is it reasonable? And I say no.
Yep.
Lying
the
about phone calls.
Yep. And the fact that the Sallyport video was inverted and there's footage that's missing.
Yeah, we talked about that. There's 40 or 50 minutes, but I think Susan said it's closer to 50 minutes of that video it just glitched out. Can't help it. There's a couple of minutes of surveillance video from the library, Susan said, I think. It's missing.
Yeah. And the fact that none of the investigators decided to look for ring footage along the path that Karen Reed took to determine if her tail light was cracked. What does that
Correct.
indicate to you?
Well, they didn't canvass. They don't
Want to know.
They don't want to know.
They don't want to. Yeah, you don't ask a question you want an answer to. But it's I think for many of us, many out there that tried to look at this reasonably. Again, if I thought she did it, I'd say she's guilty and move on. Put her in prison for however long the law decrees. I don't know Karen Reed. Don't know her at all. Don't know any of these people. I just know I see actions and events. Actions and events.
If you knew absolutely nothing and just followed the trial, looked at the witnesses, looked at the experts, I mean, you cannot come to a finding of guilty. Any reasonable person, I'm sorry, it's just not there.
Well, Raven says that there's reasonable answers for all of these events, and I'm sorry, I haven't seen them. I haven't, and I'd like to. I'd like to know why veteran police officers acted the way they did, took the steps the way they took. I can't get around their actions because ultimately the state is in control, certainly from the beginning of a case. Now, depending on how quick someone gets a lawyer, they can start getting information, but they're in control of information, evidence, handling. They're in control of it all. Their actions oftentimes decree what's presented to the prosecutor, rather quickly. There's chain of custody issues all over the place that are a problem. Would be a problem, and I mean, to me, in any case. But it was allowed. It's not reasonable for me. If you're going to put somebody in jail take their liberty for X amount of years, you're gonna have to bring something to the table.
And let's not forget the Dighton cop. I can't think of his name at the moment.
Oh,
That
that's
said
Barrows.
the taillight was Barrows. That was absolutely not what the taillight looked at 4:15 in the afternoon on that day
Correct.
when they came
That's right.
to Holloway. Explain that. Absolutely not. He also, and I believe this was in his interview, he did an interview on YouTube and said that the first trial, when he went in for trial prep with Lally and I forget who else was there, that they knew that. They knew that that was his statement, that it was not the same, that it was cracked and there was a piece missing about the size of a dollar bill, which is what he testified to. Lally knew that. And that is prosecutorial misconduct
Big time.
to hide that. And what happened was, he said when he was on the stand, they asked him, and he described it as cracked with a piece missing, and he was expecting more detailed questions, but that's where Lally stopped. And he was not cross-examined because the defense had no idea what he would say. They didn't know if he was a good cop or a bad cop, if he would cover for them or not. So they did not cross-examine him.
Right. Well, and another thing, for those that believe she did this, then how come not one medical examiner would get up on the stand and say that John was struck by a car? They wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do it. Not one. Even their
Not
own.
one.
Even their own medical examiner, the state.
That's right. That's right. Wouldn't do it.
Could not say he was hit by a car. And I have one answer about the data, and it's called hash value, which they did not supply to their experts. They did not have the hash value, the original hash value, which you can't go by the data. It's not verified. It's like, what do you call it?
It's like a secured thing. It says that that the data has
exactly how it was downloaded. Yeah, that's the hash value.
That's an issue.
Just like they didn't supply on the videos. They didn't. What's that called? That shows the original. It's original.
The metadata.
Thank you. That's what my brain fart was. Just like not getting metadata, it's the same thing. You can't prove that anything is as it originally was. And Whiffen even testified that it could have been changed, the data, by someone that knew what they were doing. So I can't trust you can't trust the data with everything else in this case. The data means absolutely nothing.
Well, it feels like it's got a screw loose. Missing video in several places. Inverted video that's presented.
There's so much. There is so much.
The case handling. I mean, to me, the integrity of an investigation has to hold up, and it doesn't. That's where I'm at. Ultimately, it doesn't hold up. It breaks.
Raven, he did his own checks to see if he could find any alterations. Well, he could not check the original. Okay, he didn't get the original, so he could not check to see if there was anything altered. And he testified to that. It was possible that it could have been altered.
If you don't have the original, how can you do it?
Raven, we are well aware of your thoughts on this case. It is all over Discord. If anybody wants to see Raven's stance on this, there is so much information. It'll take you, weeks to read it all. So I'm aware of your explanation. And
Is
anybody
Raven-
that wants to hear it, go to Discord.
Does
I'm
Raven
so
think
happy.
she's guilty?
Oh,
Yes.
Oh, really?
And that's fine. Hey, that's fine. Hey, people can have their own opinion. I don't, it doesn't bother me.
Absolutely.
No, no, oh no. I like discussing the case with Raven, but I'm shocked that after the things that I have seen brought out, that he still would be able to convict. Would you have convicted her? Knowing all the stuff that was done that wasn't done by the book?
Raven said of manslaughter, not murder.
Oh, well, there's that.
He believes the car accident happened.
Yes, Raven does, and I've been debating Raven. In fact, a lot of people have been debating Raven in our Discord channel. Yeah, just come on. It's very active, great discussions, and no, it's awesome.
Yeah, as long as people are respectful and you can have your own opinion, it's fine. We don't really tolerate a lot of the, getting into name calling and that kind of stuff. We don't want
No.
that. We have no desire for the drama.
We
But
cannot. Yeah, we're never going to have fruitful discussion if we can't put personal. You know what I mean?
Nope.
We have to be able to divorce our emotions from logical thought.
just no personal attacks. That's where it comes down
Yeah.
to. Just no personal attacks.
The-
Because
the
that's degrades the.
Yeah, they've been very civil, Jack 61. They've been really, really good, very healthy. Raven knows his case, the case really, really well, and it's been very strong, vigorous debates. And I've even mentioned a few things that Raven didn't even or wasn't even aware about, and they've been really great discussions without personal attacks, unlike the Avery and Dassey cases, right, Jack 61?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And again, it's fine if somebody doesn't agree, that they have a different opinion. We expect that. That's part of any case that is. Well, I mean, it's a really emotional case, number one, but it's pretty high profile, and a lot of us are far more in tune with, or trying to be in tune with, what's going on in the justice system throughout the states, Canada, wherever. This one was extremely high profile. So I'm going to put up a link to our Discord for anyone that's out there that hasn't is not on our Discord and wants to come on and discuss the case. Let me see here. Anyway, I was going to say we've been at it here about an hour and a half. Any last thoughts you guys want to put in? Because I've got a couple of things I want to discuss before we go.
Did you mention Brennan's comment that he released, the statement that he released?
I've not talked about that. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. I think I may even have it.
Whose comment?
Brennan.
Oh my God. Discounting the jury.
Yeah, and do you have that statement, Jack 61?
I'm looking at. I think I saved it.
I think I sent you a copy as well.
So does anyone see there being an investigation into Boston Police Department? Do you see there being like an oversight committee? Anyone doing anything about their conduct in this case? Or are we just supposed to pretend like all the things that they did during this case didn't happen.
The FBI did come in and investigate the investigation.
Okay.
Now, certain people are claiming the case has been closed, but
Mhm.
the FBI has said, the Department of Justice said the case was closed. I don't believe that for a minute, but
I don't
they were
either.
investigating the investigators, and I believe the DA's office, Morrissey. So we'll see. You know, time will tell. The
Yeah.
feds are very slow and thorough in their investigations. One of the problems is how they did not investigate this case, the absence of evidence.
Well, and
Just
proper
because of how they-
documentation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have it, Doc. I thought I saved it, but apparently I didn't.
No, that's okay. Do you want me
Yeah,
to read it? Do you want me to
Yeah.
read Brennan's
Yeah, go
statement?
Yeah, go ahead,
Guys, would you like me to read what Brennan wrote?
please.
Right. So Brennan released this. And I think this has got incredibly huge ramifications going forward. I'll read it. Quote, I am disappointed in the verdict and the fact that we could not achieve justice for John O'Keefe and his family. District Attorney Michael Morrissey appointed me, giving me full discretion to independently assess the case and follow the evidence, no matter where it led. After an independent and thorough review of all the evidence, I concluded that the evidence led to one person and only one person. Neither the closed federal investigation nor my independent review led me to identify any other possible suspect or person responsible for the death of John O'Keefe. The campaign of intimidation and abuse that has been waged, funded, and promoted in public and on social media is the antithesis of justice. If this type of conduct becomes commonplace, it will threaten the integrity of our judicial system, affecting both victims and criminally accused. We cannot condone witness abuse, causing participants to worry for their own safety or that of their families. It is my hope that with the verdict, the witnesses and their families will be left alone. The harassment of these innocent victims and family members is deplorable and should never happen again in a case in this Commonwealth. My heartfelt condolences to the O'Keefe family and faith that over the coming years, they will find peace and closure. That's it. That's from Brennan.
I want
What
to know how
about
he
the
knows that.
harassment of jurors
Yep, that's happening now.
on X? That's
Yeah, it's happening now.
disgusting.
Yeah. Gotta love when someone utilizes AI to help them write a heartfelt letter blaming everyone and taking no accountability.
If that
Well-
were true, what he said, one person only, he would have proved it in a court of law.
Yes.
He was unable to. He didn't even come close.
No.
He didn't even come close.
What's funny is he actually used a line from Ken Kratz.
Yes, it was very reminiscent of Kratz.
Yes.
I noticed that. One
That-
person alone.
One person, yeah, we chose to follow the evidence wherever it led. It's almost like a carbon copy. It's almost like they have a firm that they hire that then generates the data needed in order to secure. Don't get me started. I'm going to mute now.
All right. Okay. Any last thoughts before we move on to the end here because I do have a little bit of news I want to share with people. A couple of things.
No, I'm good. Go ahead.
Okay, well, let's move on over to the Avery Dassey cases for just a moment. Doc, you have something?
I do.
No.
Oh,
Oh,
I mean, not really. I mean, you know, to do this case justice, you need to do deep dives. You can't just spend an hour and a
No.
half talking.
No.
Like, if we were to do this properly, we would need weeks and weeks of preparation, reading, just like when we do a deep dive, reading with the crew type style. You can't do it in 5 minutes. But
No.
however, there are a lot of issues and a lot of ramifications. Like, this case is where the Avery and Dassey cases were when MAM came out. The degree of interest, the degree of hostility, the degree of emotions are over the top. They're on an all-time high. And you look at some of the comments in our chat, and you know, and I respect everybody's comments. There's clearly a division. Like, oh no way, she's 100% guilty. To there's no way that a collision took place, and you know, that type of discussion is very, very healthy. But you got to give your reasons why. You got to have a look, and this is exactly what the jury did. They looked at the evidence in total, not in isolation. Did it make sense? And it's exactly like Stephen said. Remember what Stephen stated? I saw her leave. Talking about Teresa Hallbach. So if that was true, if Stephen saw Teresa leave, then he's got no case to answer because he's got no idea what happened to Teresa. Look at Karen Reed. She said, I never hit him. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, I hit him. I think it was, I hit him, right? So if the state cannot prove a collision, she has got nothing to answer for. Do you get it? She's
Absolutely.
got nothing. There is no case. There's no case whatsoever. If the Commonwealth can prove a collision, i.e., her Lexus ran into John O'Keefe, we would not be here. There's nothing to discuss.
There's nothing to talk about.
If the Commonwealth prove their case, guys, there will be no discussion.
No.
But the Commonwealth can't, which
You know
means the jury can't find her guilty. They can't. Remember Nick Hillary? Hillary?
Oh, my God.
He was tried by a judge. The judge looked at all the forensic evidence and said, I can't place Nick Hillary with this child in that room committing this murder. I find Nick Hillary not guilty.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not. And I know that this case is far from over. It'll be discussed for years. Thank you.
Absolutely. Susan, you have something to add?
I just want to address a couple of things. They've now turned to talking about Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney. And I agree with Nan's Lies that Brennan added that part in his message about witness intimidation just to actually influence potential jurors. And that is illegal. Also, Music Tourette says Turtle Boy did harass witnesses. He is being tried. It's not for harassment. It's for witness intimidation. Yes, I think it's 9 cases. It could be 10. But it is not about harassment. It is about witness intimidation. Trying to get somebody not to testify in a trial is what it's about. And that is not at all what he did. Period.
No.
But do you get the impression that Turtle Boy is the equivalent to John Farrak?
Absolutely.
Except louder.
Yep, except louder, correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's an investigative reporter. He investigated the case. He spoke out how he saw it. Obviously, many people agree with him
Well,
on the facts of the case. He comes
He's-
with receipts.
yep. Not only this case, the Birchmore case, there's other cases too.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I want to talk just for a few minutes about the Avery Dassey cases. I do have a slight update. It's and you can take this for what it is. It's been over a year ago that I made a request of to Calumet County CASO. I wanted certain records, and you know, my list it wasn't an extensive like 50 item list, but it was fairly long, and I knew that I wouldn't just get it, you know, in a couple of days. But it took them almost a year to the day to fulfill my request, and in that, it's still not fulfilled. They didn't send me everything, and then even part of what I did get has got there's corrupted files. First, I'm gonna tell you that Doc and I were talking this last year, and if you look at the discovery emails that Kratz wrote to String and Buting, there are multiple CDs of Brennan's calls. Now, yeah, we got the Brennan's calls back in 2020. However, what they sent, it was Zoe that requested them at the time. I took delivery so they didn't have to ship them overseas. What they did was put these calls on thumb drives. They were not precisely how they were actually recorded that they had in their possession. Why they did it that way, I couldn't tell you, but they did. So given what we had, I mean, we could kind of date, well, we could definitely date a few calls, but most of the calls we couldn't date at all. I complained about it and got absolutely nowhere with Wiegert. So anyway, Doc asked me if I could get them like they have them. They have them on CDs and they're dated. Sometimes they're a day or two. Sometimes they're a week, maybe two, even sometimes up to 3 weeks. These calls are on CD. And there's just shy of 60 CDs that they have, at least. So I got them finally. Some of the files won't play. There's not too many of those. I think there's 3 or 4. Some of the files on these CDs were saved in, I know this is a little geeky, but most of the files that I got, audio files, were .wav files, WAV. Some of them were saved in a, I don't know if anybody's heard of Audacity. It's a sound audio program. I guess that's what they used. I don't know. They were saved under that. Fortunately, I was able to download Audacity and convert them to to a WAV file. Not a big deal. Got that done. I also requested several DVDs of different news footage that we didn't have. One of them was a interview Avery did. I guess it was an audio interview because there's no video. I guess I don't know. I'm gonna have to look. None of the questions are on that he answered were actually you can't hear the question, just his answer. For me, that's a problem. Why aren't the questions included? Because they kind of don't really make a lot of sense without the question. It's just an answer. And another one they told me up front was on VHS tape with one of the news channels that he did, and they didn't have any way to convert it to digital media. Well, I feel for them, but that's not my problem. That's a you problem. If you can't convert it, send it to someone that can. I mean, they sell these converters all over Amazon and these different electronic suppliers. You can buy them for not that much, actually, but I know for a fact that the DCI DOJ at Wisconsin has they probably got several of them. They can send that to them, that VHS tape to them, and they can convert it to a DVD, no problem. So I've made that request, but I haven't heard anything back. And then two more things. I requested, because I hadn't been able to get them. Uyghur flat out lied to me back years ago when I made this request. I got most of the Jody Stokowski calls that we didn't already have. However, there's a period at the end of it was December 2005 into 2006. It's like from December 10th, 2005 to January 7th or 8th of 2006. I was never able to get those calls. So they sent me a CD of that. It's one, and it had one huge WAV file, and it would play, but there was absolutely no volume at all. No volume. Couldn't hear it. But it was definitely a file. So whoever recorded it jacked did the whatever the conversion to a DVD. They turned the volume down for whatever reason. And there are a number of calls in this one huge WAV file. So I don't have a date for each of them, which again, I don't understand that. None of the rest of her calls are like that. We know when she made the calls because a lot of them came with a log file and it showed the date and the time of when she made the call, but not this group of calls for whatever reason. So they sent me another a DVD, and this administrative assistant that did it, she told me she had to play it in the DVD or whatever on her computer and record it with a different microphone. It wouldn't, I guess, I don't know what the hell's going on. So they did send me another DVD. I haven't listened to all of it yet. There are a number of calls, but again, it's one huge WAV file. I don't really understand that at all. And then the last two things, I'll lie to you. It's two things. There was multiple warrants that were sent out for phone calls from several different cell phone providers back in real time. I mean, several. This one file that I ordered was supposed to be like 37 pages. But I got 17 of the 37 pages. I don't know why they don't have the entire file. And I can't get an explanation from them. She suggested that I contact the DOJ because it does look like Fassbender is the author of these files, but I mean, I've got my oldest request for the DOJ is almost 3 years old now, and I've got 3 or 4 others from 2023. So they're not going to be any help trying to get this file. The reason I wanted that because there was a reply to these different warrants. It's 130 or 40 pages long. I haven't asked for that yet, but I'm going to. The result of these warrants and these different phone numbers that they requested, that they wanted information on. So there's that. And then the last piece, there were a number of photographs taken by the Air National Guard. Never been able to get them all. Now, they did send me a number of them. I guess we can cover that during maybe an open mic. I can show those. I can show the 17 pages of the warrant that we got. I'm going to tell you guys up front, and if anyone's angry, then they'll just have to be angry. But that's not my intent. Even though we've got these DVDs, and I've got a box full of them, Brennan's calls will not be recorded in whole and put on our channel. We're not doing it. He requested we not do it, and that's where it ends. He doesn't want, as a child, and these calls, he doesn't want us to do it, and that request is going to be honored. Now, with that said, Doc and I have discussed maybe listening to some clips, and I don't think he would have a problem with that, because there are certain calls that I got to tell you, there are things that he says, that Barb says, mainly it's Barb that he talks to, that I think it, people need to hear it. I think it's for Brendan. I think it's only fair. Also, with these calls on the DVDs, not all of them, but many of them have a log file, a PDF file, and it shows dates and times of calls. It's a log file from the Sheboygan County Jail. Now, not like I said, not every DVD had one, so I thought I would try to compile one PDF file that contained all of these. I don't have a problem releasing that because it doesn't really reveal anything about what was said, but it does show the frequency of calls and that kind of thing. So there's some kind of weird shit going on with those log files too that I can't really explain it, without. I just can't. I did because I don't know. So anyway, I guess moving forward, maybe I don't know if I can swing it tomorrow. Maybe we can hop on and we can look at these photos from the Air National Guard. Some of these we've seen, many of we haven't. And I know I know I requested. I've got them on Google Drive. I requested Zoe to put them in the library, so I don't know if she's got to that yet or not. But I know she will when she gets a chance. She's pretty busy. So anyway, that was a pretty big mouthful. But I wanted to catch everybody up on where we're at. There is one other item. It's kind of related to Stephen and Brendan. And Kay knows about it. Susan knows about it. I was actually going to put this in our private chat, but Doc's here right now, and several days ago, Ripper called me, and he, during his Tiger King days, he was contacted by a YouTuber named Eric Huntley. He does all kinds of unfiltered true crime and various things. Anyway, Eric was looking for some true crime to talk about. Ripper thought of me and the Avery Dassey cases, and so he suggested it. Eric told him to ask me, so I told him, sure, yeah, why not? I get on to talk about the cases, and so that's in the works. It'll be a few weeks before anything is out there, because we haven't recorded it yet or anything. So that's coming. Eric's got a pretty big following. So when I know more information, and I'll get it out to people in Discord or the community page on YouTube or whatever. That way, if you're interested, you can come and listen. I told him that anything we have is available to show, listen to, whatever he wants. We're basically an open book. So wanted to catch everybody up on that. So that was a pretty good mouthful. I've been talking a while. Anybody got any comments?
Not after that one, Jack 61. But
Yes.
you're correct. It is very frustrating, personally very frustrating, that we can't delve into the Brennan Dassey phone calls, because about, I would say between 70 to 90% of them are pretty boring, are pretty mundane, and they all talk about the same thing. There's a call component in the majority of those calls between Brendan and his mum, between Brendan and other family members, that all talk about the same thing. So
Yep.
it is a repetitive message. There's no gotcha moment or grand confessions that a lot of people think that there are. There are not. And there's a danger of only listening to one or two calls. You need to listen to all of them to get a true perspective of what went down between Brendan and his family. You don't just listen to one or two snippets. It's very important to understand what he was going through and what his mother was going through and other family members. So it's very frustrating that we can't play them and analyze them. But I do agree with you, Jack 61. I think playing a little snippet here and there, I think is very important.
Yeah, I think that, we're fair enough that we can include the context of, what happened prior to leading up to whatever snippet we decide to include. I think that's only fair that we do that. And we will definitely do that. So,
Yeah, awesome.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I didn't make a list out, so I think yeah. Oh, Nanslap asked if we could talk about the Rimmer case coming up, and we definitely can. Now, well, I will tell you, this is another DCI request. Back after we first heard about this case, and it became public, I made a request, open records request to the DCI about all the information, documentation, audio recordings, blah, blah, blah. And I got a reply back from them. I got whatever it was. I think the complaint, is what they sent me, the original complaint. But then they said, the prosecutor may want this big legal term, basically, or legal explanation as to why they wouldn't give me the rest. Okay, fine. Case was still ongoing, which I really kind of expect. Well, he pled the case, and I have renewed my original request. The cases, they want to act like, well, you need to make a new request. Well, no, I really don't. Because I'm basically appealing to you now because Remiker pled the case out. It's closed. What do what's the point of withholding anything? I want the audio recordings this DCI agent did, all of them. I want whatever other reports were filed. I want it all. So that's in the works. How long it will take, or even if they'll even give it to me, I don't know. I just know that I requested it. So we'll see. But yeah, we can definitely get on and talk about at least what we have right now. Glad to do that. It's an very interesting case. So, of course, I think we've already talked about that. Cratch, that case has been withdrawn. He's dropped his lawsuit against Transition and all the named defendants. I don't know if there was a settlement. I would imagine they came to some kind of agreement. He got settled, and Cratch withdrew from the case, and the judge granted the withdrawal. So it's been dropped. It's gone. So not much to talk about there. I doubt that we'll ever know, what transpired. Yeah, I would like to have that too. Nansoff, I think that's something we can request from, the clerk in Manitowoc. We can get all that, whatever transpired there. I can't imagine that's going to be amount to very much or a very long transcript. So yeah, definitely can do that. Okay. After I had my spiel talking for 15, 18 minutes straight, we're almost at 2 hours, which is a little longer than I meant to come and keep you guys. I know everybody's busy; they've got other things to do. Anything else you guys want to add before we jump ship here?
I just wanted to say that thank you, Jack 61, for putting it on. But like I said, to do it justice, the Karen Reid trial, you've got to do some deep diving rather than just have a surface look at things. And this case will be discussed for years on end. And it's very interesting how polarizing this case is, very much like Stephen and Brendan. No different. And also the Delphi murder case, exactly the same.
Yeah, you made a good statement earlier that the jury looked at everything, I think, reasonably, but I think they also didn't overlook a lot of the things that happened during the investigation. And that's important. It's an important distinction of not overlooking and saying, well, what the hell, man? What happened here? What's going on? Why didn't something happen? Again, I think we're all fair enough and reasonable enough to say in any, complex investigation, there's going to be a couple things that we probably can't answer. I think that happens in any pretty much straightforward case like this, right?
Well, my final comment is this. I could understand the anger and I can understand the angst that's in the community, because the case, and I believe that Karen Reed did not hit her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. That's my personal belief on listening to all the evidence and weighing up all of the evidence. Now, imagine if Stephen and Brendan were found not guilty. Could you imagine what the fallout would have been in the community? It's exactly as we are seeing it now in the Reed case. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's no doubt. Yeah, I agree. So, alrighty, I'm going to get us out of here. Again, I want to thank everyone for dropping in on us. We've had, close to 100 people in listening, and, we're, again, we don't follow your own belief, follow your own heart in any of these cases. So, I'm sorry. I don't want to overlook anyone. Yeah, I think Sunshine. Kay, do you have anything you want to add before we go?
I mean, really, with both of these trials, I think what has been so valuable to me working inside of a wrongful conviction case for the past 8 years that aligns so much with the Reed case as far as the police corruption element is listening to the trial with these attorneys that are narrating who are wrongful conviction attorneys. Well, and Andrea Burkhart is who I've listened to because she does post-conviction stuff, and that's the stage that we're at. So it's been really valuable just getting some a free education from her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the YouTubers have really done a great job narrating this trial. And hey, thanks for having me tonight, Jack.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
We haven't all got together in a while and, had a discussion. So anyway, it's good to have everybody, talk to everybody. So, all right, I'm going to get us out of here. Everybody can go eat like I know I'm going to, probably Susan too, because I haven't had dinner yet. So let's get out of here. We'll do something again soon. I don't know if it'll be, or we may do Remaker first, or maybe we'll just roll in Remaker and the some of the stuff I did get from Calumet, show the photos. Like again, I don't think Zoe's got them up in the library yet, but I know she will when she gets a chance. So with that said, I'm going to tell everybody, see you next time. It's been a Foul Play production.